the APC, which is a party that is intent on providing the dividends of democracy to Nigerians, is open to people who are willing to compete with us in the 2027 elections. Now, whether they used the ADA as a decoy or not, it is clear that even with the current ADC, you've seen quite a plethora of litigations that are hanging before different courts in the country. Yesterday, their former presidential candidate spoke about the fact that the current the leadership that allegedly handed over to Senator David Mark and Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola are not the authentic chairman and secretary of the party. And so we look forward to the coming days. It will be interesting, I guess. And so for the party, for APC, I think that the party should not undermine the emerging dynamics in the political system, because I am of the disposition that just like people were anticipating that the APC was going to disintegrate even before the elections, this time too, those permutations are there. But we should give it the benefit of the doubt that the ADC will survive through the election period and then compete with us. But I am very confident that they stand no chance of defeating the APC in the polls in 2027. I will not dismiss the coalition. I will also not dismiss other parties, because in politics anything is possible. You know, the dynamics of the 2014 pullout of the new PDP from the old PDP, and then the merger that brought to life the APC is different from the dynamics now. Now, this is what happened. Then, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu had control of about 6 states. Then General Muhammadu Buhari came with the CPC, which was in control of Nasarawa State. And then the PDP governors, 5, initially 7, pulled out of the convention and joined and attempted to join the APC, but eventually Babangida Ali of Niger State and which other governor? Two of them pulled out. Then we had Rotimi Amechi, we had the governor of Kwara, then we had at the time up to 11 governors to contend against the PDP. So this time around, we have not seen any incumbent governor join the coalition. I suspect, though, that a few governors may want to go that way, but the capacity of that coalition to upstage the APC with 19 governors is doubtful. I am not undermining them, I'm not underrating them. Odige Oyegu was our first substantive national chairman. I was in that convention that brought him to power. And our own His Excellency Chief Temipre Silva contested in that primaries, that convention. And then he was persuaded, Chief Silva was persuaded to step down for Odige Oyegu, and he was national chairman. Today, maybe because they are not included in this system, and because some people are grieved from the primaries that brought President Tinubu to power, they have chosen to go the path of the ADC. We wish them well, but I think and believe that they may not be able to defeat the APC. There will be the crisis of these various factions, because everybody wants to hold power. You know, how they are able to navigate the turbulent waters will determine how they will sail. During the APC merger, we had similar issues, especially with the first national convention we had, where we voted in the party officials at the national level. These differences were there. Buhari actually wanted Temipre Silva to be the national chairman. Tinubu was insistent, Chief Odige Oyegu being the national chairman. Rotimi Amechi was supporting, what's his name? This man from Rivers State. I can't remember his name again. Then another bloc was also supporting Chief Tommy Kimi and all of that. So when we went to the national convention, Tinubu insisted that it must be Odige Oyegu. Buhari was there at the state box. He was very quiet. He did not utter a word, but we knew he was not happy. The whole of the northern bloc was willing to support Silva, but it became obvious that the party was going to break away at that point. So some of us felt that if something was not done, it was going to be problematic. I spoke to my boss then, Chief Tinubu, who was the chairman of the party in the state. I said, look, go and speak to His Excellency Timi Silva. Tell him to step down. Otherwise, he will be the biggest loser, because the good luck administration will come after him. If this APC thing does not succeed, he will be the biggest loser. Go and speak to him. He went, spoke to him for about 5 minutes, came back. He did not agree to it. Myself and his younger brother still went to him and told him, go and speak to him. He went again and spoke to him until he agreed to step down for Odige Oyogi. It was then Rochas Okorocha who came with the slate. He came with a slate to all the state stands and handed the slate to these people. They did some form of harmonization of the different blocks, giving the chairmanship to the Tinubu block, the ADC, ACN block. Then the national secretary came to the CPC block, and the new PDP also got some other positions within the executive. And that was how we were able to scale that hurdle. But it was because largely Timi Silva took the bold step to undertake that sacrifice for the party to succeed beyond the national convention. And then came the primaries. Atiku Abubakar, Alhaji Kwankwaso, Buhari, and then Inda Isaiah. These were the major players in the primaries. We went to Lagos. We met all night. As I was Buhari's coordinator in Bayelsa State. And so we met, all the state coordinators and the National Coordinating Council met. We discussed till the next morning. There was no consensus. So it was now clear that we had to go into an election. But it was also agreed among the various candidates that it has to be a free and fair election. That was how the election held. And to God be the glory, we were able to scale that hurdle as well. And we went into the election united. But it remains to be seen that the ADC will be able to navigate their turbulent waters ahead the same way the APC did. Well, that is, if the leaders will be selfless enough to also make sacrifices like Chief Timi Silva did, then they will be able to scale through. Otherwise, we will begin to see some implosion within them.
Well, Peter Obi, for one, has said that he would do 4 years only. Atiku in 2019 had also said that he would do 4 years only. And then we've also seen how David Mark of the PDP has been given the national chairman position, while Rauf Aregbesola of the APC is also given the national secretary. So they already have a way of allotting positions. Let's say that they succeed. Do you think, as a political science lecturer, that they can?
They can.
They can.
They can, because there are precedents. The APC succeeded in doing that. If you go further back, you would also see alliances were formed in the First Republic. The alliances between the Northern People's Congress and a faction of the Action Group in the West. In fact, Esela Akintola wanted a form of coalition with the NPC, while Awolowo was intent on being the opposition leader. All those things brought about the Western Regional Crisis in 1964. And then before then too, you see the NCNC and the other parties trying to form alliances in some areas. And in fact, if parties are willing, they can even form alliances at state levels and then at the national level. But the biggest challenge in this context is if, for example, Atiku will be willing to relinquish the presidential ticket to Peter Obi, or Peter Obi ready to relinquish a ticket to Atiku to run. So those are all the kind of things that they have to navigate.
Don't you think Rotimi Amaechi also might throw himself up for the primaries? I know there's an Amaechi who's been very vocal about the way things are done from Goodluck Jonathan's time, even during their own administration of Buhari, and now critical of how government is carried out its duties, do you also not put him in a mix?
We can't rule it out. Of course, he's a politician, and every politician at that level want to play at the highest level, and so he may have the ambition to contest. Sometimes again, politicians contest elections not because they know they will win, but they want to use it as a bargaining tool. And so the possibility of Amechi throwing in the towel is also there. Aminu Tambuwal is also there. He may also still have interest.
All right, you mentioned the number of governors, and I'm reminded that Peter Obi did not have one governor. And Peter Obi pulled an upset in the last election, coming third without a governor. When you also say governor, number of governors, people ask the question, is it the governors that vote?
The governors certainly have substantial influence in their states. They have people working under them. The structure ranges from the governor to the deputy governor to commissioners to House of Assembly members to local government chairmen, all of whom are loyal to the governor. And so they have a large following in their respective states. They also have resources to be able to mobilize people. Yes, Peter Obi pulled a lot of votes, even though he did not have a single governor on his side. But I don't think that is likely to repeat itself now, because at the time, we had a sitting government that was not fully supportive of the incumbent candidate, the candidate of the incumbent party. And so there were some internal contradictions within the APC at the time. And so this time around, the man is the incumbent president that wants to seek re-election. And so it will not be business as usual. Definitely, they will pull some votes, but they are not likely to equal the votes of the APC in these states. For example, Peter Obi won in Lagos last time. I doubt if that will happen. It was a kind of surprise for even the president to have lost Lagos State at the time. But this time around, because sometimes you tend to overlook your stronghold, thinking that it is already in your kitty and concentrating on other areas. Then somebody will pull a surprise and win you in that place. This time around, I think that the dynamics will be very different.
Why do you think Tinubu will win Lagos this time around?
Tinubu will win Lagos because first, the other time we know how a segment of the country mobilized for Peter Obi. This time around, the other segment would also understand that their son is the president of the country, and they won't allow him to be disgraced. So everybody will be mobilized to go and vote
along ethnic lines.
Definitely, you can't take that away. You can't take that away in Nigerian politics. Ethnicity and religion are very key and fundamental.
Well, there were still
factors.
Yorubas who voted for Peter Obi.
Certainly, just like Igbos also. Some Igbos also voted. Yes, some Igbos also voted for Tinubu. Even in the East.
The figures from the last election in the East showed that Peter Obi overwhelmingly had more votes in the East, more than any other person. If you join his votes with Atiku Abubaka's votes from the last election, and the fact that President Bola Tinubu did not pull up to 30% of the registered voters in Nigeria, this is the least that we expected that somebody would get to be president of Nigeria, Tinubu winning election.
You see,
are you not concerned that both forces joining and coming together could upset the APC?
Last time, the use of the Beavers machine largely reduced votes across the country to every party. Now, Peter Obi and Atiku coming together does not automatically translate to votes of the both candidates being pulled together this time around. I know that it is a significant challenge.
You know why you?
To the APC.
Sorry, I'm sorry that I'm bringing this so that we don't go far.
Okay.
You say that Peter Obi and Atiku coming together does not mean that both votes would come together, as it were. But when you were talking earlier on, you did say that Muhammadu Buhari had pulled numbers in previous elections, and also joining that with Tinubu's ability to pull numbers ensure that he won. So it was more like Tinubu's numbers and Buhari's numbers coming to upstage a sitting government. So why do you think it will not work now?
Okay, you see, Buhari's votes were consistent between 10 million and 11 plus million. It was consistent for 3 consecutive elections before the 4th one. And so it was, he had somewhat a cult following. Atiku has contested elections in this country. We've seen what he scored before this last election. We've also seen what he scored in the last election. Peter Obi, it was the first time he was on the ballot as a presidential candidate. We've seen what he also scored. So the point is that they have only tested the waters in the last election that produced votes that almost equaled those of the president. Now, and this time around,
that was also the first time that the president was testing his popularity.
Yes, of course. Yes, I know it is very difficult when an incumbent is seeking re-election, because Nigerians would have made the assessment of your administration, and then they will vote based on what they perceive of your administration, and that is where we as a party, we know it is not a joke. This 2027 election is not going to be a tea party. It is going to be difficult, but I have the belief that we will still win. You know, the events of the last 2 years has predisposed Nigerians to feel that the APC has not done well. But the understanding of the problem is really not there, because Nigeria's problem is more of the structure. The fundamental problem of Nigeria is embedded in the structure. No party is good, no party is bad. We have people that populate these parties, people that are good, people that are bad, in all parties. But then, if we do not address the fundamental problems of the structure of this country, nobody, not even Peter Obi, can change the fortunes of Nigerians. I think that Nigerians will still come to terms with the reality that the hardship at the time is not in isolation. It's not only in Nigeria. If you go to Europe, if you go to America, the same hardship is being experienced. And of course, we only came out of a global pandemic that lasted about 2 years, and then supply chains were distorted, and so those things happened. Then the twin policies of subsidy removal.
What pandemic are we talking about? COVID?
We are talking about COVID.
COVID was during Buhari's
2020 to 2023. That was the period that COVID had its disruptions in the global economy. And we also have had the Russian war, which also broke out within this period, which also distorted global.
Like all we would say, the common man would say, "We think consign that one with waiting you thought he could do for us."
Anyways, yeah, the common man may not understand that, but we will also make them to understand that the problem is not limited to Nigeria; it is global. But then that is not an excuse. If you look deep into the twin policies of subsidy removal and then the flotation of the currency, the Nigerian currency, immediate benefits have not gotten to Nigerians. One thing that Nigerians have failed to realize is that now the government that is closest to you has not made any significant changes,
which is
with regards to the delivery of the dividends of democracy to them. Meanwhile, their allocations, some states have more than doubled. And if, for example, the governors, the local government chairmen, were relieving Nigerians of the transportation difficulties, were relieving Nigerians of power supply and other essential healthcare, education, and others, because there is so much money coming to the states. Look at a state like Bayelsa, having as much as 38 billion in a month. And then we have not seen any significant change from the time subsidy was removed and then allocations began to increase exponentially the way it has. Well, then we should be looking also at the states. We are not exonerating the federal government from the challenges we have. But Nigerians have not come to that understanding that the governors and local government chairmen are a significant part of the problem of this country with regards to their inability to provide the goods that will benefit Nigerians. So I believe that in the next 1 year that we still have to do development before politics, Nigerians will be brought to the understanding that the problem is not only caused by the federal government but also their state governments. But then the federal government will also is working. As you can see, Naira has stabilized around about 1,520 something Naira now. It is hovering around that figure, not about 1,900 as it used to be. So Naira has found its level. Now, people should also understand that we were exchanging the dollar for Naira at about 280 to 1 Naira, 280 Naira to $1. Was not because the Naira had such strength. It was because the central bank was using substantial amount of money, billions of dollars every year, to defend the Naira. These are things that so many people do not know, and that was affecting the country. You see how the Buhari government went into the ways and means, that printing money, saturating the money, the economy with liquidity in such a way that it brought inflation so high, and when the subsidy was removed again and the transportation cost rose, you see the exponential rise of the inflation to over 30% before it is gradually coming down to about 28% now. So the problems are gradually being addressed, and I believe in the next 1 year there will be some relief that Nigerians will relate to. And so it will not be too difficult for us to let them understand why they have to support these policies that will eventually keep us in a good stead.
Well, it is the APC that promised to fix corruption, fix the economy, and ensure that Nigerians are in a more secure environment. It is the APC government of President Muhammadu Buhari that you just said, in your words, if I have to say it in pidgin English, just say, but if it no get sense, the things we ain't do. Now make good for the problem with it. That's in pidgin English. That is you have just said.
No. That is not
so
what I said.
So people will say, how come you said you had the solutions, but now you're laying blames on Buhari that Buhari could not handle the economy and brought it to where we are, where Tinubu
that is not what I'm saying.
So it is still the APC
government.
That
is not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying.
That is what you are saying.
The point is this.
English.
No, the point is this. They introduced the concept of ways and means. The idea was to keep defending the Naira so that Nigerians will not suffer this difficulty. But they did not consider the long-term effects of that policy.
Which means that they did not think properly.
Not that they did not think properly.
Because everyone thinks
even Tinubu, what President Tinubu has done is that he has shown courage. He has shown courage to address the problem from its roots.
So is he now also thinking about the consequences in the future, or would he tomorrow say that, or the next administration?
The positive consequences is thinking about the positive consequences of this policy in the future, such that we will no longer adopt temporary measures and then meet a bigger problem in the years to come. What he has done is to gradually address the problem from its foundation, so that in the years to come, we will have a better country, a stronger economy, a more robust economy. Look, in countries like Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew ruled for 35 straight years. And that is why one of our problems also is this tenure thing. You see countries that have developed over time, although in America that is also consecutive years, 4 years, 2 tenure, has also promoted development to the extent that they've been in place for over 200 years. But then consistency matters. After Tinubu, for example, if President Tinubu wins re-election and he rules for another 4 years, it will be a period of consolidation. And if another...
So why is he not consolidating rather on Buhari's 8 years, being that Buhari was...
Consolidating on Buhari's 8 years would have meant that we will still be solving temporary problems and postponing the evil day.
So if he knew that Buhari was not that smart, why did he introduce Buhari to us?
It is not as if Buhari was not that smart. Look, there were economic challenges in the country. Oil production dropped to about 400 barrels per day. Oil prices fell to $26. You know the period of the Avengers when oil facilities were blown up all across the Niger Delta, and production fell to that level.
The APC government said that you're bringing agriculture, and then during the COVID period, they said we made so much money and we sustained the economy on value-added tax. So the excuse of oil should not come for the people that showed us pyramids of rice and told us that agriculture and VAT were the ways to go. Petroleum should not be an excuse.
Lishman, you would also agree with me that from Buhari's time, Nigeria has become a net producer of rice. If you go to our local market, you see very small amounts of foreign rice. Most of the rice we have in our market, bull rice, mango rice, and all of those rice are Nigerian rice. So Nigeria is almost self-sufficient in rice production.
It doesn't mean that they sprung up during the Buhari administration.
They
did not get licenses.
It increased exponentially due to the policies that the Buhari administration floated.
So
the Anchor Borrowers Program, for example.
Don't say that the Avengers and the oil thing. I'm coming. Why would you make an excuse for oil? When you say you're not producing oil.
Lishman, you know, oil remains the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. Oil still remains the highest foreign exchange earner for the Nigerian economy. Producing over 75% of our foreign exchange. You cannot wish away oil in our economy. So when there is distortion, a marked reduction in production and price at the international market at the same time, it will definitely have significant effect on the economy. That was what happened.
All right. Earlier on, you also said that this government, the Tinubu administration, in trying to solve the problem, would tell us, at least before the elections, that, we've made it easier, but you've not questioned the governments and the state and the local governments. And then you mentioned 38 billion naira and the rest of what the Bayelsa State government has made and not seen a significant improvement. Well, the government has said that it's been putting money on the 3 senatorial roads, which you have applauded at some point. The government has said that it is also building a new Yenagua city, and the assembly, legislative quarters, the roads, the ones that have been commissioned, those that are still ongoing, and then its ambitious programs. With all of this, would you still say that the government has not justified the money? Because the Doyediri administration is taking road to the 3 senatorial district headquarters.
The 3 senatorial roads, except maybe the Nembe Brass Road, were started by Governor Dixon.
No, I mean the length that they had gone.
Which length have they gone? Governor Dixon took the Sagbama Ikeremo Road up to somewhere after Ayamasa. This government has only taken it to Ikeremo, and they want to extend it further to Age. It's a wish. The Southern Nature Road from Yenagua, Dixon took it to across the Silver Bridge, almost up to Ngama. Almost up to Ngama before this government came, and the government has continued up to Otuan and now going towards Oporoma. If you cumulate the kilometers of roads that this government has constructed, how many would it amount to? Yes, I appreciate them for the little they have done. But then when the government wants to fix the direct economic challenges of the people, it is not necessarily by roads. Those are long-term projects. In the interim, there are policies that the government can float. The things that directly affect you and I most are transportation, electricity. Lishman, I buy fuel every day. As I moved to my house, I've not connected to the PhD line. So every night I buy fuel. Do you know how much I spend in a month? I spend over 180,000 naira on fueling my generator alone.
Well, the government is.
So if I was relieved of that, good. I appreciate him for that.
Yes,
that project should have started as soon as he came into office, because that was a significant challenge we had in this state.
Well, he has said it over and over that he took the lifting of the sanction and then signing of an electricity bill.
This is a lame excuse. I have always said it.
Sign a bill into law.
I have always said it
for electricity.
Lishman.
He did that.
I have always said it. I have always said it.
One before the other.
No, I have always said it that states could generate, transmit, and distribute power right from the word go. The Constitution had electricity in the concurrent legislative list, not in the exclusive list. So nothing stopped a state government from investing in power generation, transmission, and distribution. Anybody that doubts that should go and look at the constitution. So it is not an excuse. I appreciate the governor for coming up with this project. If he is able to deliver this project, I think it will be the best that he would have done for Bayelsa State. It will be the best legacy that he will leave behind.
We're still about the fact that you say that they're receiving over 38 billion a month, and that the governments closer to the people should have affected the people more. And you think that because they're not feeling the effect, that's why they put a lot of pressure on the federal government. You really think that's a good thing to say to voters to make them vote Tinubu a second time?
No, it is not just that. But what I am saying is that people should not put all the blame on the federal government. They should look at the government closest to them. The local governments, the state governments. Local governments are having substantial allocations. Some local governments are getting 600 million, 700 million in this state. And we have not seen any significant thing they have done. And so, if you cannot hold the government that is closest to you accountable, is it the federal government? Federal government only is responsible for policies. State governments also can make policies and implement policies. But then the point is that the voters should interrogate both the state government, the local government, and the federal government. Not only putting all the focus on the federal government. That is the point.
Let's bring this to the conclusion. The APC came in to say that it would ensure that it does a better job than the PDP, and then the economy, the security issue. They seem not like they seem. Security issue. The number of times that we've heard of killings. The number of times, well, the APC might say during the PDP's time, a few local government areas were taken in some states. We had that also in Buhari's time, where people had to pay money, pay terrorists not to attack them. We had that also. So the security situation is worsening by the day, and Nigerians are more divided than before. For whatever reasons, the Igbos are pushing the people from the north that are not happy. Nigerians are pulling apart on a level that it becomes scary at some point. So have you been able to succeed in fighting corruption, especially with the CBN governor who had so much to take home, especially with the conversations of other high-ranking APC members, Yahya Bello and the rest? Have you fought corruption? Is the economy in the best place? And with regards to your fight against insecurity, what would be your scorecard in 5 minutes?
Well, the economy is not in its best place. The economy is going through some challenges, but then we can also see gradually we are attaining growth. During the Buhari era, we had negative growth for one or two quarters, but now we have an economic growth of about 3.2%. And so if we improve on it in the next 1 year, we should be hitting 4-5% economic growth rate. Insecurity has not been solved. I think that the government need to do more about insecurity, especially banditry and terrorism. We need to do more. In terms of the divide, Nigeria has always been a fragmented state from the beginning. Nigeria, the way and manner the various places, various ethnic groups are brought together, it was a contrivance, as we would say. It was a contrivance, and we have not been able to cement these various divides from 1914 up till date. The divides are still very obvious. Everybody feels that one segment is suppressing the other, and so these things are transmogrifying to the extent that it is bringing discordant tones across the country. Some people want to secede. The East, for example, attempted it in 1967 to 1970, when we had the Civil War. And now there are still movements towards that direction. But it is not necessarily the fault of a political party, as it were. That is why I say the fundamental problems of the structure have not been addressed. And as long as we do not address those fundamental flaws in our structure, these problems will continue, regardless of the party that will be in power. Now, to address those fundamental structural issues, you need a president that has the courage, that will go deep into the structure. See, for example, we have 36 states. Only about 10 of these states are productive. Others are sharing from the Commonwealth. And they don't want that system to change.